Okay, I just did a video, but I didn't like how it was done, so I'm going to redo it. I'm on my second or third cup of coffee. You guys don't really care about that, but be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Also, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Someone asked me, what is the biggest issues that Tacoma is overlooking? And I've addressed this before, and I think someone's expecting me to say homelessness, housing affordability, and all those things, and I disagree. I think that those are obviously concerns, and those are problems and things like this. But I think one of the biggest threats that has been the issue for a while is the lack of affordable retail space. Now, some people will say, well, Hirsch, that's a little bit, like you're focusing on, you have a retail business, so you're focusing on your own current issues. It's not true. Now, our studio is able to kind of move wherever we want to go, right? We can kind of move our studio wherever we want to go, but not every place is going to be a good, conducive place. And you worry about the price. A lot of the spaces downtown offer you an okay price, but the parking sucks or the location's not a good location. Some spaces, you don't have all three. It's rare to find the three things: affordability of space, good parking, and good location. The only place that does that right now is Freight House Square. And that's one of the reasons why we're there. Now, obviously, Trax is coming in and they're going to offer the same things because location is key and they're going to be in the same location. They will be able to offer you brand new retail space, but the problem is affordability, right? So that still cuts out, it's not a problem for us, but that still hurts a lot of small businesses, a lot of mom and pops. It hurts them because they can't afford that. That's the biggest threat to downtown Tacoma and Tacoma in general is the lack of affordable apartments, or not apartment, that too, but the lack of affordability when it comes to retail space. And until we actually have programs that really focus on micro businesses, and I've brought this up before, we're going to always have issues that really we shouldn't be having. Small businesses are so important because a lot of the wealth and jobs are created from small businesses. That's what help runs this country. Small. It's not the big tech titans and the big companies. It's mom and pop businesses. They hire a lot of people. A lot of people are employed. And I can tell you that small businesses also create a massive amount of income for people who otherwise may not be making that type of money. Just due to certain situations. It's not due to their skill. It could be that where they are, the job market doesn't really pay you much. Problem with Tacoma is it's expensive. That's not a shock, right? We're over on this side of the country. Everything on the West Coast is expensive. But the problem is that the jobs suck. Jobs here pay hardly anything. And so unless you're working for the city or something like that, jobs don't really pay much. But the cost of living is not too much different from Seattle. And yet in Seattle, you're making a whole lot more money. You see what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make sense. So then when you see retail spaces, really downtown, any space in most of the vacant spaces that you see, if there's a product on the market that's over $20 a square foot, it's way overpriced, in my opinion. It's way overpriced. You have buildings that have been sitting vacant for a while, and yet the price is so expensive. And they're in locations that are not that great of a location, meaning that there's no foot traffic, visibility is not that great. There's nothing else around it to attract people. It's just a space. And so they stay vacant and they never change anything. They never change anything. So it becomes a problem. There's compounding issues. The less people you have walking around downtown, it creates more opportunity for other things to happen. It just does. Look at the pandemic. That should teach cities a very strong lesson. A, don't just overlook businesses' needs. A lot of small businesses, their concerns are not even looked at. And so cities are just like, whatever, you're here. Give me my quarterly money. And these businesses really, when they shut down because of COVID or anything else, the cities feel it. They feel that pinch. They can also feel that pinch when small businesses vote with their feet, leave a city because their concerns are not listened to, and they can go someplace else where concerns are listened to. Example, enter Amazon, who basically has kind of left a lot of Seattle and started investing in Bellevue. They voted with their feet, but they're big enough to do so. They can take on huge projects and contracts and all this and still walk away from it with no problem. Mom and pops can't really do that. But a lot of them are saying, like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. When you have prices that are so expensive, you have a whole ton of permits, you have a bunch of other stuff that's so expensive, it's just almost impossible to do. So a lot of people who have passion projects that would really educate our community, projects that would create more vitality, new experiences, things that other places have been doing for so long, we haven't even tried yet. It's just too damn expensive. You have greedy developers that charge way more than what the product is worth. And you then have landlords that are also super greedy as well. So you end up in a situation where no one can really afford it. And they're holding out for the companies that can. The hope is that, a big franchise will come in, like Mellow Mushroom. That would be great. Like Mellow Mushroom would come in, or T-Mobile would come in, or Starbucks. And the reality is that if the Painting Panda Pottery Studio is not moving into those places, or Honey Quartz Co-op is not moving into those places, you're not going to get Starbucks. Sorry. Just isn't. It doesn't make sense. You're not going to get something. They look at what we do. Small micro businesses. There's not a program really for micro businesses. There's not a program to grow them, to help them to get started, to sustain them. None of that. Doesn't exist. So in this city, there needs to be more of a push to do that. And if you don't have it, then you hurt the economy. You're only hurting yourself. These individuals, these small micro businesses can really change someone's life. Instead of them working all day, making no money at some place, they can probably have their own store and make double what they would have made working for somebody else. They have tons of flexibility. Speaking of Honey Quartz Co-op, the lady that owns that, she brings her child in with her. So now she doesn't have to pay for daycare, which is absolutely ridiculously over expensive, but she doesn't have to do that. You see what I'm saying? Like, the city should help us help it. And the only way the city can do that is have programs and initiatives that really address this. We have programs for everything else, but we really don't have programs and initiatives, and the same can be said about Seattle, where it really has a lower price for small micro businesses. It's kind of like people are like, well, you're a business, so you're making money. It's not true. Some businesses don't make anything. You get what I'm saying? Like, some businesses don't do much. We're now able to move anywhere, right? But there are some places that are charging $28 a square foot, $32 a square foot. So easily calculate that. I mean, it's not. I mean, take for example, you find a space that is 1,000 square feet, and they're charging $32 a square foot. Okay, that's $32,000 a year that you're paying for a space. You divide that by 12, and it gives you your answer of how much. Okay, Google, what's 32,000 divided by 12?
32,000 divided by 12 is approximately 2,666.67.
Okay, so let's say that that's how much you're paying $2,600 for a retail space?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking.
Okay, I had to wait for the light to turn off. But um, imagine that's 1,000 square feet for $2,600. That's not very big, folks. And so that is what people are up against. That's the extreme, but it does exist. And to be honest with you, spaces downtown that are, and those are for new properties. The older properties don't cost that much, but they're still in the high middle 20s. So $25 a square foot, 26, it's ridiculous. And these are spaces that are still 5,000 square feet, 3,200 square feet. When you add it up, how much you would actually have to pay. And that's not including triple net. That's just the base rent. Then you have to add in all these other factors, triple net included, as well as insurance and everything. It's way permits. This is a city that loves its permits. So you're really going to be paying a tremendous amount of money for nothing, for very little. And it's all in a hope and a prayer that you have people that come in a city that does not have a lot of foot traffic downtown. It's improving. But it's not like Vegas. In Vegas, I can be on Vegas on the Strip, and I can basically open up a store as big as this man cave selling rubber bands. Okay? And let's say that this space is $2,000 a month, and I'm just selling rubber bands. Given the volume of people who go up and down that strip, let's say 99% of the people ignore me, but I get that 1%. Even 1% of that traffic is enough to probably keep my store going. That's how that works. So when you see places along the strip, their rent, God, I wouldn't even imagine how much it is. But they're able to make it because there's such a volume of people. There's so much foot traffic. You see what I'm saying? So it makes sense. Here, you don't have that. In Seattle, you do have that in certain areas, but we're rivaling Seattle in some cases in terms of prices, and it doesn't make sense. Some of these are spaces that are so outdated that by the time you come in, and keep in mind, you may have to budget for $2,600 a month, which you have to, not only do you pay that, but you also have to pay a deposit, which is going to be the same, and then all this other garbage. Walking in, you're probably, for a space that I just mentioned, 1,000 square feet, you're probably counting displaced. Let's say it's the Painting Panda. We decide to take over 1,000 square foot space, which would be very, very small. Let's say that we do that. Just by the rent, triple net, and let's say that we're just buying shelves only. All of that by itself, just starting out, you're probably going to be in the neighborhood of close to about $10,000. Once you pay all of your licensing and fees and permits and, first month's rent, deposit, all that garbage that you have to deal with, you're probably looking at close to $10,000. And that's just month one. Never mind the fact that after year one, your rent is going to escalate every year for however many years that you signed it. It's going to keep going up a certain percent. You see why places stay vacant. And especially in areas where there's no foot traffic. There's nothing. There's nothing around you to draw people in. There's nothing. You're just there. And so it doesn't make sense. The city should have programs, in my opinion, that help subsidize the cost for micro businesses. They should work with some of these landlords who have a perpetual vacancy and say, lower your price, we'll guarantee a certain amount of income for you, and then the tenant pays some of the rest, and let's get going. Make the prices lower so that someone is paying $1,000 a month as opposed to $2,600 a month. Have the landlord eat $600 of that. The city pay $1,000 a month. So somebody's putting skin in it. Everybody's got skin in the game. Me, I put $1,000 in a month. The city puts in $1,000 every month. And the landlord eats $600. To me, that makes a lot more sense. It works out for the landlord because they're taking a loss. They can say, I took a loss. That helps them. They're making their money back. The city is making its money back by creating more tax revenue from a business that didn't exist yesterday, but it exists today. And trust me, they'll get their money back. They'll get their money back. And because you're creating other avenues for other businesses to come in that may not need the assistance. They're like, oh, well, this Painting Panda came in. They bring in quite a few people every single day. We probably can feed off of that a little bit. So then another smaller business comes in and they take up a 350 square foot spot without any assistance. And now the city is gaining revenue and they didn't have to put any money in, and the landlord didn't have to make any sort of sacrifices. That's how you do it. You don't just say, well, it's a free market, go ahead and do what you need to do, and rents keep escalating over and over and over again. It doesn't work. So I appreciate the fact that there's a focus on addressing affordable housing. I get it. But if you don't have affordable retail space, because we have co-working spaces. If you are an accountant or an attorney or a massage therapist, co-working spaces. But if you are in even a tech company, you can go to co-working. But if you want to open up your own soap shop or candle shop or something like that, you're going to be basically getting a bloody nose every month. It's painful. So there is nothing to do. We made it on a wing and a prayer. Now, price is not an issue for us. It's now, well, what do you offer us? Before, it was begging people to please make your prices more affordable. Now, the affordability is not the issue. It's the fact that there's not other businesses that can help bring in people, because we are a destination where people come to us, right? It's not like we have to have foot traffic. But having other businesses next door is helpful. We don't want to be the only one on the block. That's the first thing. Second thing is parking. We need a lot of parking because a lot of people are coming from different locations and they need the parking. So it makes it difficult. There's only a couple of places here in the city that really cater to the micro business owner. And then you can't really count Point Ruston because, yeah, it does cater to that, but the rents are so expensive. It's kind of out of the way. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to take a hit there. Then there's other issues that you got to deal with. Then you have Freight House Square, which management is not that great. The location's great, but then you have all these other issues that you got to deal with. But really, it's the best thing going in town. It's got a good location, transportation is right there, free parking, huge garages. You see what I'm saying? It's affordable. But it stays full all the time because there's no other place. You have Sanford and Son, but again, it stays full all the time because affordability. That should say something to developers that the vacant retail spaces that you're building are going to stay vacant for a while because there's just not. No one's going to be paying $30 a square foot in an unproven market. You're not going to get Macy's that says, you know what, you got that 32,000 square feet available down there. I'm going to take it. And it's at $30 a square foot. I'm going to take it. Imagine, I just told you how to do the square footage thing, right? So imagine, let's just say it's $28. Okay, Google, what's $28 times 35,000?
The answer is 280,000 United States dollars.
Okay, Google. Okay, Google, what's 280,000 divided by 12?
280,000 divided by 12 is approximately 23,333.33.
Do you think that any business would be paying $23,000? And people say, how come there's no grocery store? Can a grocery store survive in a market like Downtown Tacoma paying that type of $23,000 a month? That's just rent. That's the base rent. That's not triple net. That's not counting the other stuff on top of it. That's just I'm getting the building. I'm not paying for utilities yet. I'm not paying for any. And typically you have to pay the deposit. So you got to walk in the front door with $50,000 just to get the place, plus all the other stuff involving with triple net. You got to pay all that. Then you got to pay for your insurance. Then you got to hire your employees, and you got to pay them something to be able to survive in a place that's expensive, and you get the picture. That's why you don't have a grocery store in downtown Tacoma. There's no foot traffic that's going to keep it alive. A. B. The locations are just too expensive for your typical formatted grocery store to survive here. Prices are too high. Yet you can't get the city to work with developers to lower that price. You see it in places like Albuquerque, New Mexico. They did that. They told the developer, look, we'll give you this land, but you have to make sure that you bring in a grocery store, that you bring in a pharmacy, because that is something that we need. Downtown Albuquerque has probably 300 people living down there, probably. It's more than that, but not a lot. Not a lot. Not near what we have here. And yet we can't get a grocery store downtown to save our life. The prices are just so damn expensive. And you don't have the right leadership in place to say, if you do this, then this happens. We don't have that. And probably it would be considered an incentive. And the state does not allow incentives. It's against the Constitution of Washington State to offer incentives. So that could be why that's the case. Those things really do hurt us as a city. So what the city can do is find ways to actually encourage nonprofits that are in the city to work with property developers, as well as work with existing properties, to say, look, let's lower the rent price for retail space. And then we can kind of increase them as time goes on, but let's lower them quite a bit. Some of the places downtown should really be $12 a square foot. You are hard pressed to find $12 a square foot downtown. And to be honest with you, that's where most properties should be. Not counting the new stuff, but most of the existing stuff should be 12 to 16, maybe $18 a square foot. And you don't have that. So again, Macy's ain't gonna come. I just pulled Macy's. Just use anybody. They're not coming. There's no proof that it's going to work, and they're locked in. They're not going to be paying 20 cents. Because mind you, they may pull out and say, look, it's not going to work, but they're still on the hook for that rent. They're going to be paying for a vacant space $20-something thousand every single month. It's painful. You see what I'm saying? Like, there has to be, there's a proper way to do it. And unfortunately, we have the feel-good people, but we don't have the right people that really know what they're doing. So as a result, we don't get what we could be having. There's a lot of, I don't think we can do that, or maybe we can do that, but it doesn't seem like it's possible, or you just don't have the right people that can really make things happen. And so that, to me, is one of the biggest problems in the city in terms of job creation. Again, small businesses can help with that. It can help with people's incomes. It can help with a lot of things, but we just don't have the right process in place. We don't have that right amount of energy put towards this to make it so that it's a lot more affordable. You know, shipping containers. There's shipping container malls. If we had something like that downtown, that would do a lot. You see what I'm saying? Metro Mall in Atlanta, downtown Atlanta, it was made famous by this guy named Darren Long, who was a security guard there. And he was made famous on YouTube for, pushing people out that were a problem. Even a building like Metro Mall in downtown, if that was downtown, that would do wonders. Let's say it has maybe 20 different spaces in it, plus some food courts on, the end caps. That would do well. That would do well. If we had 20 retail spaces for micro businesses downtown, boom. That would do so much. That would be so impactful, but we just don't. There's been more talk about it recently, but the fact that I've been begging, and I haven't been the only one, it hasn't been something that people have taken seriously. The big issue is housing affordability, but you're chasing a goalpost that keeps getting moved every single month here. Now, if we were in Bowling Green, Kentucky, where I'm from, it would be maybe every year or so that goalpost is moved. And what I mean by that is the price of everything goes up so damn much that what's affordable last year is not affordable this year. You see what I'm saying? The goalpost keeps getting moved so much because it becomes so expensive in terms of rent prices going up. I talk about this. Rent prices go up. The cost of buying a house goes up every single month. So hell, by the time you have people sitting and chewing on it, well, what should we do? I don't know. Maybe we should bring this person in because we think that they're an expert. And they have no idea. They haven't started a business at all in their life. And we're bringing people in that really are out of their element. So by the time they fumble through and try to figure things out, years have passed and we're still stuck. That's why you have a lot of spaces downtown stuck, because they're waiting for that big Hail Mary. They're waiting for a well-known company. And when you're in spaces that don't make sense, they're old spaces, they're outdated, you have to remodel. So again, let's back up. Macy's, let's say they say we're going to come in. We're going to pay that $20-something thousand a month. We got to come in with 50 grand though, because we got to pay the deposit. That still doesn't count for the remodeling you have to do. With some of the new builds, you have to actually build out the space, right? When it comes to some of these old spaces, they're so outdated that you're going to have to bring it. You might as well have to gut the whole thing. Do you know how expensive that's going to be? So when you really break it down as to why the spaces are vacant, why we don't have a grocery store, why we don't have as much foot traffic, that right there explains it. So until we have a program that subsidizes the retail costs for micro businesses and small businesses, you look at old photos, you had a whole lot of small little tiny banks, small boutique hotels. You had like watch repair places. I know we don't have that now, but you can have small phone repair places. You know, there were dry cleaners and laundry mats and everything else. Small little pharmacies, a dentist office here and there. We don't have it anymore because it's too expensive. And a lot of the buildings that did exist that had all those things are torn, they're gone. So we've created a disconnected downtown. It's even along Pack Avenue, it's disconnected because they've tore down so many buildings that there's no congruent space like what you see in Seattle. Seattle, there's not that. Here it's all chopped up. Now we're getting a lot of projects filling those in, but those are housing projects. They're not retail. So we're really behind it. Here's my hope, is that on Pacific Avenue, those parking lots that people talk about so notoriously, and that there's a person that owns that, I believe, or a company, I don't know. They're not willing to sell it to just anyone. They want it to be a big, huge project. So they're going to be sitting on it for a while. But my goal and hope is that turns into a project that has a pretty tall set of buildings. If we could just get one developer out of Bellevue to come here and do what they do in Bellevue, where they build a project that has 15 different towers in it, and we could just have 2 towers that are 30 stories each, that has one is, partial hotel with condos on one side, the other is nothing but apartments on the other side, and then they put in 300,000 square feet of retail. I would actually cry a tear. I would run down the street naked crying. But we all know that's not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? So when people ask, how come there's no grocery store? I explained it. The cost. Juice isn't worth the squeeze. And until we have developers that come down to earth a little bit more and lower the prices, or landlords lower the prices, or have the city put in programs that can help lower it, you're never going to have the mom and pops move in because they can't afford it. And if the mom and pops aren't moving in, some of the bigger businesses are not going to move in either. You're not going to get a TGI Fridays coming in because they're like, what's the point? I don't see anything down here, right? You're not going to have a Steak and Shake. You're not going to have a T-Mobile or Verizon store in these vacant spaces. Because if I can't make it there, they damn sure know they're not going to make it there. If there's no other small supporting business there, they're not coming. They look at it as there's a reason why it's been vacant. It's an unproven market for some businesses. We haven't had a department store downtown, and I was in diapers probably. If not before then. Maybe my sister, who was born in 1964, It was around her time when she was in diapers. That's the problem. So until we actually address the issues, we're going to continuously run into that issue. And so, yeah, I think there needs to be a program in place that actually helps small businesses, more specifically micro businesses, which will help create vitality downtown, more people walking around. There's more things for people to do. That lowers the barrier for other businesses to actually come in because they see these small businesses pop up. They move in to feed off that energy. You then create more jobs as a result. You bring in more tax revenue for the city. These vacant spaces are not just vacant anymore. So you don't have people going through busting windows and tearing stuff up and taking a poop on a window because there's nobody there to catch them. There's nobody there to stop them. So we're throwing good money after bad, trying to fix all these other issues, but we're not looking at we're addressing the symptoms, or trying to. But the symptoms keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, but we're not addressing the core issue. We're not addressing the core issue. So we're wasting money and time on things that never are going to matter. It's funny that, housing affordability, a developer will come in, put in 30 apartments, and they're like, people are so, this addresses our current housing needs. It does nothing for housing. It absolutely, 30 units does absolutely nothing as far as addressing the housing situation. And the goalpost for housing affordability keeps moving every single month. The retail component, it keeps moving every so often. So every year, the prices keep going up so much to where it makes it almost unattainable. And even nationwide, we're finding where people are not buying houses. It's kind of like, well, that was great, but good luck. We can't afford it. There has to be something that can be done, and I can't address the national issues. I don't know. I know here there needs to be, and we're not the only one. Issues all up and down this coast are like that. But what I'm saying is we can set ourselves apart by working on ways to make it so much more easier for businesses to exist. Don't punish the businesses. Don't ignore the businesses. The big companies, no problem. You're a developer, no problem. Small business, nobody listens. That has to change because small businesses can easily vote with their feet and leave and pay taxes someplace else where someone actually cares. Again, Amazon a la Bellevue. Bellevue was not on Amazon's radar as heavy as it is now, mainly because Seattle showed this contempt for Amazon, certain people within it. So they basically voted with their feet. That can happen with small businesses too. But anyhow, I didn't want this to be a long tangent. Tell me what your thoughts are. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, I will see you. Take care.